I have the most beautiful peaches. You just saw me kind of soak them in a vinegar water solution for 5 to 10 minutes because I am not actually going to be peeling my peaches, and I'm going to be making peach jam today. So a little bit of a canning rebel, but you choose what works for you. I'm actually following the directions that come in the Pomona's packet. So Pomona is an alternative to the traditional pectin you may find in the stores or online. For the longest time I would use ball pectin because that's the only pectin I knew to buy. And then Pomona's came on the scene a few years ago, and it gels with low amounts of sweetener. So that's what I really like about it, is that you can use this pectin and make your jams without adding tons and tons of sugar, which a lot of those traditional recipes do require. So this pectin contains no sugar or preservatives, whereas if you look at some of those other brands and you're looking at the labels, it actually does have preservatives and other added sweeteners in it. And so we're using Pomona's today. It's the only pectin I've been using for a few years. I've had great success. I will say, as a tip and trick, that you're gonna wanna can your jams in either a half pint or maybe lower, if a quarter pint. I know that's really tiny. I like to do half pints because I find that when I open my jam that has been used with Pomona or made with Pomona pectin, it may not always last in the refrigerator as long as those other pectins. And when I say that, I mean it could sit in the refrigerator for a month and be fine, but maybe past that 5 to 6 week mark, it's starting to look a little eh. That's the only downside, so I try to can them into smaller half pint jars rather than pint, so that way we're going through it faster and we don't have to worry about anything going bad. So I'm going to be cutting the pit out of my peaches. These are not freestone peaches, and I'm going to be saving the pits. And I'm gonna show you what we're gonna do with those. But first, I want to cut the pits out, kind of chop them into some pieces, get them into a pan, and then we'll start mashing. So the recipe, when you're using Pomona's pectin, you do wanna stick with the recipe card that comes in the box. It just will make your life a little bit easier. And so for this particular one, I need, oh, at least it's coming off a little bit easier than I thought it would. But I need 4 cups of mashed peaches. Okay, so you can see there's obviously some flesh still on the core, but that's why I'm saving it and not getting rid of that. I've got my measuring cup here that measures 4 cups. So I say this might be a little rebellish because normally you would absolutely need to peel your peaches. And Pomona's even says you have the option to either pit, chop, and mash, or peel, pit, and mash. I'm not entirely sure what the difference is between chopping and peeling versus, one way or another. But I'm just roughly chopping and I'm not peeling. But that is why I soaked them in the vinegar for a little while and kind of cleaned them off. Do what you feel most comfortable doing. Okay, that's pretty full. I'm gonna get one more small one in here. All right, we're gonna put this here. I'm gonna turn my burner up to medium, and we're gonna add a 1/4 cup of lemon juice. You want to make sure you're adding bottled lemon juice so that you get the right acidity level. Guys, I just went and cut up another 4 cups of peaches just because I want to make sure I have enough to do my 5 or 6 half pints that I want to do. So I'm adding another 1/4 cup of lemon juice. The burner's on medium high. I really kind of want to get this to a low boil so I can start to mash. The other difference with Pomona's pectin is the calcium water. So with every pack of Pectin that you purchase, it comes with a little envelope of calcium, and it's very clearly labeled. And you want to take a half cup of cool non-chlorinated water with a half teaspoon of that calcium powder, put it in a lidded jar, shake it up, and we're gonna be adding some of that right now to our peach mixture. The rest of it you can put into the refrigerator and save it for your next jam making experience. And so the recipe calls for 4 teaspoons. Because I essentially doubled this, I'm gonna do 8. I'm going to be steam canning the peach jam, so I already have my steam canner on the stove with my jars inside just so they can warm up as well. And I turned that burner on to medium also. All right, that is boiling. It's mashed really well. The next step is to mix in the pectin, the Pomona's pectin, in with our sweetener. I'm using honey. You can use sugar, but I am gonna be using honey. And so the recipe says either a half cup to cup of honey per batch, so I'd be doubling that, or 3/4 cup to 2 cups sugar. So it gives you a range. You can actually decide, do you want more sugar, more sweet, or less? That's what I really love about this too. I am gonna go with a 1.5 cups honey. I'm gonna try to kind of go right in the middle. 2 cups would be the full on sweetness. So I'm gonna go to 1.5 cups, and I need 6 teaspoons pectin. I'm not using our raw honey from our bees because this is being cooked. I would much rather use the honey that I purchased in bulk from Azure Standard. And technically this is raw honey, but it's not our bees honey. This is 12 pounds of raw wildflower honey. 6 teaspoons of the pectin. Which thankfully I had just enough. So if you're using sugar, this process will be a lot easier, but you want to mix your sugar and pectin together. In this case, my honey and pectin. All right, we're gonna pour in our honey pectin mixture. We want to get this back up to a low boil. All right, we're at our low boil. I'm gonna move this over to the counter and we're gonna start filling our jars. We're gonna be leaving a 1/4 inch headspace and processing for 10 minutes. We still have the pits. And I was able to actually get some of the skins off when I was mashing because they just kind of came off, and so I pulled them out. But what we're gonna be doing with the pits, the skins, and all of that really good flavor is make some peach iced tea. I'm gonna turn my burner on to about a medium high. And I'm just gonna throw everything in here. I have a gallon of water in here, And there is no rhyme or reason for a ratio. I'm just gonna use all of these pits and all of this meat to really help flavor this. And this is something that you can easily freeze, the pits, you can easily freeze them and then make this any point in time whenever you have time and the desire to have peach iced tea. I have a lot of peaches, and so I actually already froze a whole bunch of the pits from making other things a couple of weeks ago. And so I will definitely be making more of this as the summer goes on. Let's go measure out our dry tea mix. So I am going to be using an English breakfast tea, black tea. This is the same tea that I use when I brew my tea for kombucha, but that's what I'm gonna choose today. You could really choose whatever tea you prefer. You could even choose an herbal tea. It's really whatever you like. My general ratio that I do for kombucha, and I'm going to bring that over to here for this application, is for 1 gallon of water, 1 ounce of tea. And so if it's a half gallon, half ounce, 3/4 ounce, right? So that's how I'm gonna measure this out. I really love this kind of large tea infuser. I will make sure I link this down below, but this is what I use when I'm infusing large batches of tea for either kombucha or this type of application. It just makes things so much easier. So I am not gonna put this in until this is really good and hot, almost as if it were a very low boil. And then we'll get the tea in, and it's what's great about it is it has this chain that I can kind of like hook on to the edge of my pot or pan and let this sit in. And I'm gonna let it infuse for probably a good 20 minutes. I like it to have a really strong flavor, and I wanna get as much of the peach juice and peach sweetness in as possible. And at this point, if you wanted to sweeten your tea, you could actually add your sugar here, and then you can have it ready to be strained, or you can add your sweetener at the end. I will not be sweetening this. Oh my goodness, it smells so good. It smells so good. I am gonna let this cool here on the counter. I don't wanna put it in any type of container, and certainly nothing going in the refrigerator this hot, right? So let it cool, and then you can put it in whatever container dispenser works for you, and you've got some delicious peach iced tea when those hot days come. Thanks for joining me on today's journey with canning up our peach jam and making peach iced tea. I'll see you next time. Stay healthy, stay well. Bye-bye.